We are live.
Okay, we are on the air. Thank you, Syed. Okay. Hey, thank you very much. You want to kick it off, Syed, or do you want me to take over?
I thought you were doing the intro.
Syed or me? Mhm.
You.
Okay. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, early evening to the folks in the different parts of the world. Hey, there's a lot of echo, Syed. Syed, the audio is not working. Syed,
Yeah, I'm there. I have muted myself. Brian, if you can also mute for a minute, please. Yeah, Nat, please.
okay. Thank you, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, early evening to the folks in India. Delighted to meet with a number of you. By way of introduction, my name is Nat.
Nat, is it still echoing?
Yes.
Uh, not sure from your side because from our side it's set, Nat. Like we are on mute.
Okay. Okay. Let me start all over again. Hopefully, we'll be able to cut off some of the early parts of the discussion. Good morning, good afternoon, early evening, happy Thursday. Okay. Third time is a charm, as they say. Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, early evening to the folks in different parts of the world, Asia. My name is Nat Natraj. I'm the co founder, CEO of AccuKnox. I am delighted to host all of you for an amazing webinar. Sad it's not working. It's just echoing back at me, at all of us.
Nat, could you try changing other microphone settings? Side is away.
What settings? This is standard Mac. I've never had a problem with Zoom, Office 360, Teams, or everything is getting exercised.
Nat, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Nat, okay. Uh, I think, can you check in your browser? Have you opened the YouTube link in a different tab or something? That might be the cause.
Yes, yes, I can,
Okay.
yes, I can hear you. I have not. Yes, you are right. That was a problem.
Yeah. So let's restart. And we have a hard stop in 22 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, I know, no.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. It's entirely my bad. Apologies. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, early evening to the folks in different parts of the world, Asia especially. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate all of you making time. By way of introduction, my name is Nat Natraj. I'm the co-founder, CEO of AccuKnox. I am delighted to invite all of you to this amazing webinar. The keynote speaker will be Brian Laing. Brian is quite a phenomenon. He is the sort of Larry Bird equivalent in the cybersecurity industry. For those of you who follow American basketball, he's one of the legends in American basketball. And Brian is one of them in the cybersecurity industry. He co-founded a company called Red Seal Networks, which is a legend in the area of attack surface management, continuous pen testing, and the like. And later on, went to do some amazing things in the sandbox industry at Last Line and was at Orca. We're delighted to have him. He brings an enormous amount of expertise. And most importantly, in addition to being in the cybersecurity vendor industry, he was a CISO himself. So brings a practitioner perspective, a technical perspective, and overall and creative genius perspective. Needless to say, AI is the biggest thing which has happened in a number of our lives, right? And it's got immense potential, as we all know. But along with all new technologies comes an enormous responsibility as professionals to guardrail it, to harden it, to secure it, to make sure that we keep it away from the edge cases, right? And as we all know, hallucination, prompt injection, hijacking, all those things we know. But the question is, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to come up with a very risk mitigated approach to leverage AI? And that will be the goal of Brian's discussion. Brian, take it away. I'm sure you'll find it very, very engaging, very, very interactive, and very, very informative. Brian, take it away.
Good morning. Thank you, Nat. So the first thing I want to go over is, when you think about an AI application, one of the main things that sort of kick things off is, what kind of model are you using, and is that a an off-the-shelf model? Are you using components that were built by other people and you're piecing together kind of like Lego blocks into your application? Or are you building your own model and training it from the ground up? Now, ultimately, this choice is going to converge back into your application, and once that happens, they're pretty much the same. But at the beginning, that choice can have a big impact on some of the early types of attacks that you're going to see, and some different things you're going to have to prepare against and make sure you're doing. So, for example, when you're doing a dedicated AI factory and building your own model, you've got concerns over, well, how is that model trained? Is my infrastructure that the training is going on secure? So you gain components that you have to actually secure. Whereas on the left-hand side with the off-the-shelf components, those are already taken care of, but you have a different issue because of how quickly you can piece these together. You will often get people that will rapidly push an application out because they can just grab these components off the shelf, and that can cause problems. So whichever one you've got, both of these have related overlapping security strategies that you need to focus on. So first off, when you have an AI application, it's not just the model. It's a complete, pipeline of components that work together to deliver that application. So first, you've got to have your data. This might be static data. You might have continuous data where it's being updated, in near real time or real time. Those are going to cause issues. The model training, which I just talked about, you might have agentic code versus just a static code where a user's just accessing a chat bot. but it's not actually taking any sort of agent analysis. It's just one prompt, one response, as opposed to a prompt to an agent. So all of this is a very complex infrastructure that requires specialized software to execute, but also has requirements around security and looking at those different aspects. And that brings us to sort of that third problem, which is, with this very complex stack, you've got to set up, tools to address, for example, what is protecting the agentic code? Are we scanning the agentic code ahead of it going into production? Are we putting guardrails around the model? Are we tying all of this together? Because you might have an attack, for example, where you could protect that attack against the guardrail, but guardrails can still be poked and prodded to get around them. So you might need to add some runtime protection. I use a demo example when I give a demo where I can ask the model for the password file for where the model is running, and guardrails will, built-in guardrails will prevent that from happening. But if I go, hey, plot me a diagram based on the content of every file that starts with the letter C in the directory where the password file is, it will give me that data. And I could try to put some more guardrails in there on top of the default ones. But this is where runtime protection is a better option, because I can simply say the model process doesn't have access to that directory. So that's where that zero trust imperative really comes in, because rather than trying to get the guardrails perfect, you can actually remove a lot of these attacks simply from having that built-in runtime, as well as the prompt firewall. Better, prevent the attacks with the right technology to minimize impact and make it easier on your security. Nat, do you want to talk about the threat landscape?
The threat landscape, it's quite candidly, it's evolving, right? There are two aspects to it. How do you leverage the power of AI to execute attacks at scale, right? That's one. Second is, how do you guardrail the AI models itself? And as we have seen, both are very, very, very important problems. And we are very, very pleased. We are working with the U.S. Department of Defense. We are working with some very large global 1000 companies to understand the entire threat landscape. The good news is that there are amazing organizations such as Snowflake, Databricks, ServiceNow, who've done some amazing work in terms of mapping the threat landscape, and MITRE, NIST, the European Union. They've all done a great job of taking a proactive role. So they've defined a framework for us to assess the risks in these models, and our goal is to come up with remediation steps, right? So the good news that OWASP has done some amazing work. So we'll be working with leaders in those areas. The good news is the taxonomy is done. So think about this as a building code, right? When you go about building a house, you make sure that you comply with a bunch of building codes. But how do you actually build a great house, right? That really is a unique challenge with an architect and an engineer does. And that really is our goal. Our goal is to provide you with an amazing tool so that you are compliant with all of these. And you're never going to be 100% compliant, right? You're never going to be, but you need to understand what are the countermeasures or the gaps, so that when you go for an audit, whether it's SOC 2 or GDPR or CCPI or audit, you have an accurate assessment of what the defined risks are, where are you compliant, what the gaps are, and what the countermeasures are, and what the impact of these are. So that's what we provide with you, is a complete framework for you to first look at all the assets. As I say, you cannot secure what you don't see. So first is a full asset topology, understand the compliance gaps, understand the risk issues, and then come up with remediation steps and do continuous compliance, right? Unlike good old days where we came from, where you did a once a year SOC 2 pen test and you said one and done. That's not the world we live in. We're dealing with a continuously changing threat landscape. So you really need to do continuous compliance. And that really is the value we add. Brian, take it away.
Yeah, and again, going back to that pipeline, it's there are different stages and different things. So I got an illustration here where the AI is classifying what it sees in the air, and by doing pre-training poisoning, you can actually get it to wrongly classify what it sees. So in this case, it's not seeing the hostile drone network, but it's seeing friendly transport. So that is one of the examples. It's a fairly basic one of training the AI to actually see the incorrect thing. So you have to look at, again, that overall flow. What is happening during training? What is happening during deployment? So again, depending on your application, you might not be doing training, so that removes. But you have to understand, your security team needs to understand what application the developers are building. Are they building their own models? If the security team doesn't need that, then you're going to open yourself up to a huge number of attacks that are not factored in. And here we sort of have taken sort of the some of the top ones from LLM and agentic threats from OWASP. So the T06 and the LLM01, those are from the number from OWASP, and then I've categorized them by the section they're in. And you can sort of get a good overview of, hey, where are we running into these issues? And that also helps you with, what type of defense you're going to put in. What type of thing do you need to look at when you're evaluating the security? But these attacks can take place in many different areas. And we've seen the recent news of, the first sort of attack where agentic AI actually executed the attack and was able to get information at a speed we have not seen before in the wild. So this is, I think we're really just seeing the first signs of agentic based attacks. I've seen signs of AI being used in attacks where attackers are using dark web data to and using AI to mine dark web data to find the content for social engineering, the human engagement portion of this. And now we're starting to see agentic based attacks, which is going to tie into all of these. And that's not even targeting the AI application itself. So you might actually end up with, if you're not looking at all these levels, where somebody is using your models, your agentic code, et cetera, to actually execute attacks at speed. And that really sort of goes into, building a framework for, protecting yourself against this. So, the first thing you need to do is look at how you're going to structure your security. You need to look at, again, do you have that development pipeline? Have you got machine learning SecOps integration? So now we're no longer just seeing, DevOps, SecOps, we've got DevSecOps, and now we're starting to see, ML SecOps to focus on the specific aspects of the AI application. And with anything, you need to do it continuously. Vulnerability assessment has been around for a very long time, but it's relatively recently that we've started to call it and focus on continuous exposure management. So this is a big part of doing that, is actually focusing on the continuous. It's also where some of the existing frameworks are very beneficial. The MITRE ATT&CK framework helps understand how you're going to respond to some of these things, but you also need to look at the new evolving frameworks such as the NIST AI risk management framework around, govern, map, measure, manage. Very similar. If you've worked with any of these, you will be familiar with them. But again, it's part of that planning. You need to actually take a step back, look at what you're doing, understand what the application is, and understand how you're going to respond, and understand where the threats are. And you can't do that until you've gone through some of these. For example, you may have the model looks great, doesn't seem to have any issues, and then all of a sudden you realize that the data that it has access to includes PII, and none of your tests or evaluation have included the fact that the AI has access to PII that it doesn't frankly need. So that's where these frameworks can help you go in. We're still seeing how these are going to, pan out, so to speak. Right now I'm looking at, the NIST framework. There's the new ISO 42001 AI framework, the EU AI Act. These are all going to, come together much like EDR and PCI have over the year. So we will be able to go through that. And yes, somebody just popped a question. Yes, these are in or sorry, at least the ISO one is about to get added to the platform. So that'll be a framework because it has specific things to follow. As the others get formalized around specific checks, those will get added, much like the other frameworks that we have in the product. So these will be the best thing to do at the beginning is to apply multiple frameworks based on what you're doing and the data has. So for example, if it's a financial application, you can start with PCI because the ISO 42001 is going to cover the AI component piece, but you're still going to have to go one or two steps beyond that because you're going to need to factor in, oh, this AI app has application or access to financial data, so I need to factor in PCI. Oh, it's got PII, general PII data, and I'm in Europe, so it's going to have to be GDPR compliant as well. So those are going to factor in as well. It's not one of these frameworks is going to tick all the boxes for your application. These are really focused on the AI components of the application. And our product will allow you to combine those, which will make it a little bit easier for you to manage. Nat, did you want to say anything
No,
about
these
the?
are amazing. These are again. There's a very seminal research which came out of MIT, which you might have seen, which said that a 0.1% poisoning of the training data can result in massive variation up to 50% in inference. Right? That's an amazingly scary thought. What that says is that AI is great, but unless every aspect of it is well managed, well curated, and well controlled, it is something which is you should not use that as a part of your business processes and business instrumentation. That's number one. Number two is what is coming down the pike in a big way is agentic AI. Agentic AI, think about agentic AI as a bunch of humans, insiders on steroids, on running at Mach 2 speed, running your business processes. Again, how do they get their identity, right? What kind of privileges do they have? How do they interact with that? How do they manage data? How do they consume data? How do they exfiltrate data? All of that is a massive effort. Good news is that since our roots are in zero trust security, we solve the problem in very fundamental way. We're doing it for leading organizations worldwide. We just published an amazing book on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. If you go search for AccuKnox, you'll find it on agentic AI security. I'd strongly encourage you to take a look at it. The good news is that it's starts from a very basic and goes to some very advanced levels on zero trust agentic AI security. We would love to tell you more. Experts like Brian Laing can take you through a demo a proof of concept. As I say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Unless you see it, unless you actually experience it and put it to work within your environment, we can set up a sandbox. Only then you'll be able to appreciate the power and the potential of what we offer. Again, we're all here to help. Feel free to reach out to us. Brian, take it away.
Yeah. So, it's and somebody asked another question. Yes, we will have. I don't want to call them simulations, but we do have automated red teaming built into the AI portions of our application. Those will do the guardrail testing, etc. And there are some additional features that we're putting in there. You also can, for example, put in your own runtime policies, which will also protect against these some of these attacks, like the password one that I just mentioned. So yes, we already have, and we will be continuing to add in that category. We follow this. There's a couple projects around guardrail testing, etc., that we follow and implement into the product. And the nice thing is, when you're using the product, you can actually, and we do a demo of that password check that I mentioned, where we turn on the runtime policy and show it blocking. So we are the only CNAPP that can actually prevent, protect, and enforce the needed policies in that zero trust policy that you need, whereas others are just doing detect and respond. Detect and respond, by definition, is I detected something, not immediately, I didn't prevent anything, but then something else is processing the alert. So it takes time.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Nat, since we are very close to the time, just
Yes.
a reminder.
Yes. Thank you very much, folks. Really, really appreciate all of you making time. I know that your time is very precious. You've been very kind and generous to spend this time with us. I hope a number of you who are in the US had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday season ahead. So, if for the three takeaways, right, what are the key things you want to walk away from? AI is transformative, right? Uh, to say anything less would be restating the obvious, right? Which is fantastic. AI, the fundamental aspect of AI is that it is probabilistic. It's not deterministic. All of us come from a deterministic world. 7 raised to 2 is 49. If you ask a standard computer 8,000 times, it'll give you the same answer. Whereas with AI, 7,999 times, it'll say 49, but the 8,000 time, it might say 748, right? So you have to live with the fact that the power of AI is that it's probabilistic and it does the best guess possible, which means that it's almost right almost all the time, which means that there's significant amount of time when it's not right, right? So the question and the challenge and the opportunity is, how do you really leverage the power of AI and do it in a way that is productive for your business use, and you chop off the edge cases, right? So that's the goal, opportunity, and challenge. What is equally important is what is coming down the pike in terms of agentic AI. Think about them as if you got 1,000 employees in your company. So think about 1 million employees working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on steroids, right? So that's the way to think about agentic AI. The question is, how are you going to apply the same set of controls which you apply to any employee, right? You don't let your employee just rattle away any information about the customer or your company to anybody outside, right? So the agentic AI has to be guardrailed in a similar fashion. And that really is what we are all about. So AccuKnox roots are in zero trust security, which means that we deliver high levels of assurance. We've got amazing customers. We are working with leading organizations, including the number one organization in the world, which is the US Department of Defense. So we are very, very excited to give you the best security solution. The easiest way to go to our website, take a look at it. The second would be go to a number of our videos. The third would be if you need a copy of the Amazon book, we'd be glad to provide that to you. If you want a demo, we'd be glad to do it. Ultimately, the proof of the pudding is a POC, POV, which we'd be glad to do. Again, uh, congratulations on attending this webinar. Best wishes in leveraging the power of AI. And we'd love to work with you and do it in the most safe and the most efficient and the most productive way. Thank you. Have a great day.